My friends, happiness is not an accident. It is not something that suddenly appears when life becomes perfect. If we wait for everything to be peaceful, sorted out, and trouble-free before we choose to smile, then we may spend our whole life waiting. Happiness is a decision, a discipline, a commitment we make with our own heart every single morning. Every day brings its own challenges. Some days feel heavier, some days lighter, but each day gives us a choice. Do we carry the weight of yesterday, or do we carry the wisdom of yesterday? Grows when we choose the second option. When we stop replaying the past and start practicing gratitude for the present, the heart becomes lighter, clearer, calmer. Happiness is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about focusing on what is still beautiful, what is still possible, what is still within our control. It is waking up and reminding ourselves, "Oh, today I will be gentle with my mind. Today I will not allow negative thoughts to win. Today I will treat myself with love." When we push ourselves to be happy, we are not forcing emotions, we are cultivating habits. A gardener cannot force flowers to bloom, but he can remove the weeds, water the soil, and create the right environment. Similarly, we cannot force happiness in an instant, but we can remove the negativity, water the mind with good thoughts, and create a positive inner space. Every day, push yourself to speak kindly, even if the world speaks harshly. Push yourself to stay grateful, even if life is not perfect. Push yourself to forgive, even if people do not apologize. Push yourself to breathe deeply, even when stress tries to suffocate you. Happiness is a journey of small daily victories, a moment of prayer, a moment of silence, a moment of gratitude, a moment of kindness. These tiny choices build a happier mind and a stronger heart. Remember, happiness does not come from the outside. It grows from the inside. The world can make you smile for a moment, but only you can make yourself happy for a lifetime. So choose happiness daily, protect it, nurture it, and watch your entire life transformed. Happiness is a daily decision, a quiet commitment we make with ourselves long before the world interacts with us. The moment we wake up, our mind becomes a blank canvas and we choose what colors we want to paint on it. Some people wait for happiness to arrive from the outside through good news, comfort, success, or perfect circumstances. But happiness does not knock on the door like an unexpected guest. It must be intentionally invited, consciously welcomed, and consistently sustained. When we understand that happiness is a personal choice rather than an external gift, we realize how much power we truly hold over our emotional world. Every day carries its own share of challenges. Some mornings we wake up feeling energetic and positive, while other mornings feel heavy, confusing, or emotionally cloudy. But even on the difficult days, we still possess the ability to choose how we will face it. The decision to be happy isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about deciding how we want to respond to whatever happens. Life may present obstacles, but we decide whether we approach them with frustration or with calmness. Life may not always be fair, but we decide whether unfairness breaks our spirit or strengthens our wisdom. The world may not always treat us with kindness, but we decide whether to let it harden our heart or deepen our compassion. Choosing happiness is like choosing to exercise. You don't become strong by accident. You build strength because you decide to show up every day. Happiness works the same way. Some days the workout feels easy, some days it feels difficult, but the commitment stays the same. When we wake up and tell ourselves that today, I will not allow negativity to control me, we shift the entire energy of the day. We begin to notice blessings we normally overlook. We become more patient with ourselves. We stop expecting perfection and start appreciating progress. True happiness grows from awareness, intentionality, and mindfulness. Our mind constantly tries to latch onto worries, fears, and doubts because thinking negatively requires no effort. But choosing happiness means gently guiding the mind away from unnecessary suffering and bringing it back to the present moment. It means reminding ourselves that not every thought deserves our attention, not every comment needs a reaction, and not every emotion must dictate our behavior. It means training the mind to search for solutions instead of problems, hope instead of despair, and peace instead of tension. There will be days when choosing happiness feels unnatural, days when pain is real, stress is high, and emotions are heavy. On those days, choosing happiness simply means choosing not to sink deeper into negativity. It means taking one slow breath at a time, finding one small thing to be grateful for, and giving ourselves permission to rest. We do not choose happiness because life is perfect. We choose happiness because our heart deserves peace even inside imperfection. When we consistently make this daily decision, something powerful happens. Happiness stops being a temporary mood and becomes a natural state of being. Challenges still come, but they no longer break us. Stress still appears, but it no longer consumes us. We learn to bend without collapsing. We learn to feel without drowning. We learn to smile not because everything is right, but because we are learning to live wisely. To live wisely. The decision to be happy is the beginning of emotional freedom, and every morning gives us a brand new chance to choose it again. Life has a unique way of testing us. No matter who we are, where we live, or what we have achieved, problems will always find a way to enter our lives. They come through people, through circumstances, through unexpected events, and sometimes through our own thoughts. We cannot escape challenges, but what we can choose, what always remains in our control, is our attitude. Our attitude is the filter through which we interpret life, and it determines whether our challenges become heavy burdens or opportunities for growth. Two people can experience the same setback, and yet one feels defeated while the other feels motivated. The difference is not in the problem, but in the perspective. It is easy to believe that our happiness depends on everything around us being smooth and peaceful. But life simply does not work that way. Even when one problem ends, another appears in a different form. Sometimes small irritations disturb our mind. Other times big challenges shake our confidence. But if we train our attitude, if we strengthen our inner response, the size of the problem becomes less important. A stable attitude can make even the biggest challenges manageable, while a weak attitude can turn even small issues into storms. The power of attitude becomes clearer when we observe how people react in tough situations. Some individuals crumble the moment life becomes uncomfortable. Their mind becomes clouded with negativity, fear, and frustration. But there are others who meet challenges with calmness. Their circumstances may be difficult, but they refuse to let those circumstances disturb their inner peace. They take a deep breath, they think clearly, they act wisely. They do not allow panic to take control. This strength doesn't come from luck. It comes from a trained attitude. A positive attitude doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It means looking at challenges with a balanced mind. It means saying to yourself, yes, this is difficult, but I will not allow it to destroy my peace. It means understanding that problems are temporary, yes, they come, but they also go. But if we let our attitude collapse, the problem stays longer than it needs to. A strong attitude keeps the door open for solutions, clarity, and emotional stability. Life becomes lighter when we choose our attitude consciously. Instead of complaining, we start reflecting. Instead of panicking, we start planning. Instead of blaming others, we take responsibility for how we respond. Problems lose their power when we refuse to emotionally surrender to them. Every challenge becomes easier when we stop reacting impulsively and start responding intelligently. The world may not treat us gently, but we can still treat life with grace. Even stressful situations become manageable when we approach them with calmness. A calm mind is like clear water. You can see through it. But a disturbed mind is like muddy water. Nothing is visible. The same problem feels larger when our mind is agitated and smaller when our mind is centered. This is why training our attitude matters more than trying to control life. Life will always flow in its own direction, but our inner state can remain steady if we cultivate awareness. When we learn to protect our attitude, we protect our happiness. We learn that we cannot stop every storm, but we can train ourselves to walk through the storm without losing balance. Problems will come, but our attitude determines whether they weaken us or strengthen us. And when attitude is strong, even the hardest days become stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. Happiness is not a blessing that falls from the sky. It is a result of the habits we build every single day. Just as physical strength comes from consistent training and not from occasional effort, emotional strength comes from the small daily practices we choose to repeat. People often look at someone who seems peaceful and joyful and think, they are lucky. They are lucky. But most of the time, luck has nothing to do with it. What we call a look is usually the result of someone's discipline, self-control, and intentional habits. Happiness is built, not found. It grows slowly, quietly, and steadily through the choices we make every moment. When we repeat negative habits, complaining, overthinking, worrying, comparing, criticizing, our mind becomes conditioned to search for what is wrong. Even in peaceful situations, it will find something to stress about. This is how many people live, surrounded by blessings but unable to enjoy them because their habits have trained their mind to focus on problems. But when we cultivate positive habits, gratitude, patience, kindness, silence, self reflection, the mind starts noticing what is good, what is working, and what is worth appreciating. The more we practice these habits, the stronger they become. Think of happiness like a garden. If we want flowers, we cannot simply hope they appear. We must water the soil, remove the weeds, and give the plants sunlight. Happiness works the same way. We remove the weeds of negativity, nourish our mind with uplifting thoughts, and expose our heart to the sunlight of positivity. Over time, this discipline creates a mental environment where happiness naturally grows. But if we don't take care of our inner garden, weeds will automatically take over. One of the greatest habits for happiness is gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is missing to what is present. It transforms ordinary moments into blessings. Even simple things, the warmth of sunlight, the comfort of a home, the presence of a loved one, become sources of joy. Another powerful habit is silence. Spending a few minutes in quiet reflection calms the mind, resets our emotions, and helps us respond to life rather than react. Silence does not remove problems, but it gives us the clarity to face them. Kindness is also a habit that multiplies happiness. So when we treat others with understanding and compassion, we create a positive energy around us. This energy eventually returns to us in different forms. A kind word, a calm response, or a patient gesture can change someone's entire day, and in doing so, it changes our own heart as well. People who practice kindness consistently don't just make the world better, they make their inner world lighter. Even the habit of monitoring our thoughts plays a major role in happiness. The mind will produce thousands of thoughts every day, but not all of them deserve our attention. Some thoughts bring peace, others bring stress. If we learn to filter and choose which thoughts to believe, we protect our inner peace. This mental discipline becomes easier the more we practice it. Happiness also grows through the habit of taking care of ourselves. Resting when needed, eating well, spending time in nature, reading uplifting content. These habits restore the mind. When we neglect ourselves, negativity grows. But when we nurture ourselves, joy naturally increases. Slowly through repetition, these habits shape our character. They become a part of who we are. Happiness becomes less dependent on circumstances and more dependent on our mindset. And when happiness grows from within, the outside world loses its power to disturb our peace. Every day, through these small habits, we build a stronger, wiser, happier version of ourselves. So many people delay their happiness because they are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect situation, the perfect relationship, the perfect success, or the perfect peace. They believe that once everything falls into place, once life becomes beautifully aligned, then they will finally allow themselves to smile, rest, breathe, or feel joy. But perfection is an illusion that the mind keeps chasing, and the more we chase it, the further happiness moves away from us. Life is not designed to be flawless. It is designed to be lived, shaped, navigated, and understood. If we wait for all problems to disappear before we choose happiness, we may spend our entire life waiting. Every day comes with a mix of good and not so good experiences. Some moments uplift us while others test us. But if we learn to be happy even when life is not perfect, that is when we discover real emotional strength. Happiness is not about finding a day with no challenges. Happiness is about meeting challenges with a balanced mind. It's about deciding that one difficult moment will not define the entire day. It's about giving ourselves permission to enjoy life even while working through struggles. Think of the sky. Even on cloudy days, the sun is still shining behind the clouds. Our joy is like that sun. It exists within us, even when problems temporarily cover it. We just need to remember that the clouds will eventually move. But if we focus only on the gray sky, we forget the light that is always present. In the same way, if we only focus on problems, we forget the blessings that quietly surround us every day. There is a quiet strength in choosing to smile even when life isn't easy. It doesn't mean we are pretending. It simply means we are prioritizing peace over perfection. It means we are choosing to see possibilities instead of limitations. It means we trust that better days are coming, and until they arrive, we will still make the most of the day we have. Many people believe happiness will come after they achieve something big, after a promotion, after they earn more money, after the right relationship appears, after their health improves, after they fix every area of their life. But happiness doesn't begin after achievements. Achievement becomes easier after happiness. A peaceful mind works better, decides better, and lives better. Waiting for life to be perfect before we are happy is like refusing to light a lamp until the darkness goes away. Darkness only leaves when the lamp is lit. Choosing happiness in imperfect moments also teaches resilience. When we are able to remain calm and hopeful despite challenges, we train our mind to handle stress more gracefully. We learn to adjust, adapt, and stay emotionally balanced. This ability becomes a lifelong strength, helping us through every season of life. When we shift our perspective from I will be happy, when life changes it to I will be happy, while life is changing, everything transforms. We stop wasting time waiting and start using time living. We no longer postpone joy to some future moment. We bring joy into the present moment. And the present moment, no matter how simple or imperfect, always has something to offer. Perfection may never come, but peace can come today. Problems may not disappear, but our relationship with them can become healthier. Life may not always be easy, but our inner world can become stronger. And when we allow ourselves to be happy even in the middle of chaos, we realize that happiness was never dependent on the outside world. It was a choice we had the power to make all along. Letting go of yesterday's burdens is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves, yet is also one of the hardest things to do. The human mind holds on to memories, mistakes, regrets, hurtful words, and old disappointments as if they define our identity. We replay certain moments again and again, hoping the past will change or make more sense. But carrying old pain into a new day is like trying to walk forward while dragging a heavy bag filled with stones. The journey becomes slower, harder, and more draining. The weight of yesterday prevents us from experiencing the peace and clarity that today offers. Every morning is a chance to start fresh, but many people wake up with the same emotional wounds they went to sleep with. They hold on to anger from an argument, sadness from a loss, guilt from a mistake, or bitterness from betrayal. Instead of using the past as a lesson, they treat it as a punishment. The truth is, the past cannot be rewritten, but it can be released. The moment we choose to let go, we reclaim our inner space, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Letting go does not mean forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It means freeing ourselves from the emotional grip of the event. It means saying, yes, this happened, but it will not control my day, my mind, or my future. Holding on to pain does not protect us. It only exhausts us. Pain loses its power the moment we stop feeding it with our attention. Sometimes what we hold on to the most is regret. Regret for decisions we made or didn't make, for opportunities we missed, for people we trusted, or for emotions we didn't handle well. But regret is only useful when it becomes a teacher. If it becomes a permanent companion, it turns into self-punishment. We must remember that we made those choices with the knowledge, maturity, and emotions we had at that time. Growth happens when we learn, not when we endlessly blame ourselves. Other times what we hold on to is the behavior of others. Someone may have hurt us deeply, betrayed our trust, spoken unfairly, or walked away without explanation. These wounds stay in the heart, replaying like a broken record. But holding on to resentment does not harm the other person, it harms us. It drains our energy, steals our peace, and keeps us stuck in emotional loops. Forgiveness is not about excusing the other person, it is about releasing ourselves from the emotional prison their actions created. Letting go also means releasing the identity we formed through our past experiences. If we constantly tell ourselves, I am someone who was hurt, I am someone who failed, or I am someone who was rejected, we trap ourselves in old versions of who we used to be. But every day gives us the chance to rewrite our inner story. We are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become after it. When we stop carrying yesterday into today, something beautiful happens. The mind becomes lighter. The heart becomes softer. The emotions become calmer. We begin to notice opportunities that we were previously too burdened to see. We reconnect with joy, hope, and gratitude. We start responding to life instead of reacting from old pain. Letting go is not a one-time decision, it is a daily practice. Every morning, we remind ourselves that the past is over. Every moment, we choose peace over pain. And every day, as we release a little more, we rediscover our strength, our clarity, and our ability to fully live the life unfolding in front of us. The human mind has a natural tendency to notice what is missing rather than what is present. It focuses on the one thing that went wrong instead of the 100 things that went right. This habit might have helped our ancestors survive by alerting them to danger, but today it often steals our peace. When we constantly look at what we lack, whether it is money, success, love, acknowledgement, or comfort, we overlook the blessings that already fill our lives. Happiness grows when we shift our attention from scarcity to abundance, from what is absent to what still exists, from losses to remaining blessings. When we focus only on what we don't have, life begins to feel like a never-ending chase. The mind becomes restless, constantly wanting something more, something new, something different. Even if we get what we desire, the satisfaction lasts only for a moment, and soon the mind finds another reason to feel incomplete. This endless cycle of desire keeps happiness out of reach. But the moment we consciously shift our focus to what we already have, we begin to experience a calmness that cannot be purchased or forced. There are people who have less than us but smile more. There are people who face bigger challenges but still remain hopeful. Oh. And there are people who carry heavy responsibilities yet remain gentle and kind. What makes the difference? It is their focus. They choose to see the bright side of their circumstances even when darkness exists. They choose to acknowledge blessings even while dealing with problems. This ability to appreciate what remains instead of mourning what is missing becomes the foundation of their happiness. Focusing on what we have does not mean ignoring difficulties. It means giving our mind a balanced view. When we appreciate our health, we treat our body with more care. When we appreciate the people in our life, we speak with more kindness. When we appreciate our opportunities, we work with more gratitude instead of pressure. Appreciation transforms our relationship with everything around us. It turns duty to devotion, pressure into purpose, and ordinary moments into meaningful memories. The simple act of noticing the blessings already present can change our emotional atmosphere. The breath we take every second without thinking, the roof that protects us from the world, the food that nourishes us, the people who love us in their own imperfect ways. These are gifts we often ignore until life reminds us of their value. The more we focus on these gifts, the more our heart softens. Stress becomes lighter. Complaints become fewer. Peace becomes easier. When we constantly compare ourselves with others, we fall into the trap of inadequacy. Someone will always have more money, more success, more talent, or more comfort. But someone else will always have less. Comparison blinds us from seeing our unique blessings. The moment we stop comparing, we start appreciating, and appreciation is one of the purest forms of happiness. Focusing on what still exists also strengthens resilience. Life may take away some things, but it never takes away everything. Even in times of loss, something remains. Hope, strength, faith, experience, or a new beginning waiting to unfold. When we focus on these remaining pillars, we find the courage to move forward. Gratitude is simply the art of noticing. And when we notice what is good, even in imperfect days, we give ourselves the gift of emotional freedom. Happiness becomes less about having a perfect life and more about appreciating the perfectly imperfect blessings we already hold. Creating a positive inner environment is one of the most powerful steps toward lasting happiness. The mind is like a home. Whatever we allow inside eventually shapes the atmosphere we live in. Just as we would never fill our house with smoke, dirt, or toxic chemicals, we should not allow negativity, self-doubt, overthinking, or harmful influences to occupy our inner space. Yet many people unconsciously do exactly that. They expose themselves to negative conversations, stressful environments, unkind people, and destructive thoughts, and then wonder why their peace disappears. Happiness cannot grow in a polluted mental environment. It needs clarity, kindness, and calmness to flourish. The thoughts we entertain become the emotional air we breathe. If we constantly absorb negativity, gossip, criticism, comparison, fear-based news, or toxic social media, We fill our mind with noise. This noise becomes the background music of our life, making it difficult to hear our own inner wisdom. A polluted mind reacts impulsively, gets offended easily, becomes restless over small things, and falls into the trap of self-judgment. But when we intentionally choose what enters our mental space, we create an environment where happiness feels at home. Removing negativity does not mean avoiding challenges or pretending problems don't exist. It means refusing to give unnecessary attention to thoughts or people who drain our emotional energy. It means choosing peace over drama, clarity over confusion, and growth over chaos. Just as a gardener removes weeds not because he hates weeds, but because he loves his plants, we remove negative influences because we love our inner peace. A positive inner environment starts with the way we speak to ourselves. Many people talk to themselves more harshly than anyone else ever would. They criticize their past decisions, doubt their abilities, and replay their fears. These internal conversations create an emotionally heavy climate. But when we speak to ourselves with compassion, when we encourage ourselves, forgive ourselves, and acknowledge our efforts, we plant seeds of confidence and joy. The mind blooms when treated with kindness. The people around us also shape our inner world. If we surround ourselves with individuals who constantly complain, blame, gossip, or spread negativity, their energy slowly becomes ours. Their words become our thoughts. Their fears become our beliefs. But when we choose uplifting company, those who inspire, support, guide, and encourage, we naturally feel lighter and more hopeful. A single positive conversation can brighten the mind more than a dozen motivational videos because it comes with genuine emotion. Even the physical environment affects our inner state. A cluttered room creates a cluttered mind. A noisy space disturbs focus. A chaotic routine creates anxiety. But moments of silence, organized spaces, fresh air, sunlight, uplifting music, or even the presence of a candle or plant can shift the energy of our mind. Small environmental changes often lead to big emotional shifts. Another essential part of creating a positive inner environment is monitoring what we consume mentally. Books, videos, conversations, messages, and even the thoughts we allow to repeat. Consuming positive content isn't about becoming unrealistic. It's about balancing the overwhelming negativity that the world constantly feeds us. When our inner environment becomes positive, life feels lighter even on tough days. We respond instead of react. We think clearly instead of anxiously. We find solutions instead of drowning in problems. We feel grateful instead of deprived. A positive inner world acts like a protective shield, keeping us grounded no matter what happens outside. Happiness doesn't survive in chaos. It survives in clarity. It grows in peaceful inner spaces. And when we intentionally create that environment within ourselves, happiness stops being temporary. It becomes a natural state of being. God, happiness is not the result of one big life-changing moment. It is built through small daily actions that seem simple but have tremendous power over time. Just like a river is formed drop by drop, inner peace is formed habit by habit, moment by moment. Many people wait for extraordinary events to feel happy, not realizing that the most meaningful transformation happens through tiny, consistent choices. These choices might feel insignificant today, but when repeated every day, they slowly reshape the mind, strengthen the heart, and create a more joyful way of living. It could be something as small as waking up a few minutes earlier to breathe deeply, reflect in silence, or express gratitude. That simple act sets a calm tone for the entire day. Or taking a short walk, allowing nature to soothe the mind and ease stress before the day becomes overwhelming. Even drinking water mindfully or smiling at someone during the day can shift our emotional energy in ways we don't immediately see. Happiness doesn't depend on the size of the action. It depends on the sincerity with which we practice it. Small acts of kindness also have a big impact on our happiness. Helping someone carry a heavy load, offering a patient response instead of an irritated one, or listening with full attention can elevate our heart and bring unexpected joy. Every time we contribute positively to someone else's life, even for a moment, we create a ripple of goodness that eventually returns to us. These tiny gestures often matter more than grand gestures because they are real, frequent, and done with a genuine heart. Another small daily action is the practice of pausing before reacting. This simple pause just a few seconds, can prevent misunderstandings, arguments, and emotional turmoil. Instead of reacting in anger or frustration, the pause gives us space to choose patience or understanding. This one tiny habit can transform relationships, reduce stress, and protect our peace in moments that would otherwise disturb us. The power of this little pause is immense, yet most people underestimate it. Writing down a few good things that happened during the day is another small habit that changes the mind. It trains the mind to notice the positive instead of constantly scanning for the negative. Over time, this shifts the entire emotional pattern of life. The mind becomes calmer, kinder, and more hopeful. What once felt like ordinary moments start feeling special. Gratitude expands and happiness follows. Even the practice of consuming positive content for just 10 minutes a day, reading an inspiring page, listening to a calming message, or reflecting on something meaningful can bring enormous emotional clarity. These small inputs nourish the mind the way food nourishes the body. They strengthen resilience and help us remain grounded during difficult times. When we look at truly peaceful people, we often admire their calmness and strength. But what we don't see are the small habits they have built quietly over years. Their peace comes from small decisions, choosing silence over chaos, kindness over anger, gratitude over complaint, patience over hurry. These habits have become part of their identity, and that is why happiness flows naturally from them. Small daily actions work like drops of water falling on stone. Each drop seems weak, but over time the stone changes shape. Similarly, each small practice may seem simple, but together they gradually shape our inner world. Over weeks, months, and years, they build an emotional foundation so strong that even life's challenges cannot shake it easily. Happiness doesn't come from waiting, it comes from doing. And the most powerful things we do are often the smallest ones we repeat every single day. Sometimes the most powerful transformations in life don't come from what you add, but from what you add, but from what you stop allowing. Key point 9 is all about recognizing that not everyone is meant to stay with you for the entire journey, and that your growth will naturally create distance from people who are no longer aligned with your path. One of the hardest things to accept is that you cannot bring everyone with you into your next chapter, even if you cared deeply, even if you shared history, even if you thought they were permanent. Growth is a process of elevation, and when you elevate, you don't just rise, you shed. You shed old patterns, old versions of yourself, and inevitably old relationships that belong to those versions. It is not betrayal, it is not selfishness, it is alignment. There are people in your life right now whose presence made sense when you were smaller, weaker, quieter, more insecure, more confused. They fit who you were, not who you are becoming. And the tension you feel, the constant misunderstandings, the emotional drain, the lack of support, the mismatch of values, is simply life showing you that the relationship has served its purpose, and keeping it alive will only delay what you're meant to step into. Holding on to people out of comfort or fear is one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck for years. They keep investing in connections that drain them, hoping something will magically change. But it never does, because the connection was never meant for the evolved version of them. It was meant for the older version that no longer exists. And what truly breaks many people is the idea that letting someone go means they are the villain or you are the villain. But that's not always the case. Sometimes good people outgrow each other. Sometimes two people who care deeply simply evolve in different directions. Sometimes the person who once understood you perfectly becomes the person who can't understand you at all. You don't have to hate someone to walk away. You don't have to fight with someone to outgrow them. You don't need drama. Growth itself creates the separation naturally. The more you learn, heal, and improve, the less tolerance you have for people who bring chaos, negativity, stagnation, or emotional imbalance into your life. When you start valuing your peace, your energy, your focus, and your future, you automatically begin to distance yourself from what disrupts those things. And that distance is not coldness, it is self-respect. It is understanding that your life is a limited space, and you cannot keep filling it with people who don't contribute to your purpose. Some people only come into your life to teach you what you don't want, what you won't accept, and what you will never tolerate again. Once the lesson is learned, the relationship loses its meaning, and forcing it to continue creates unnecessary suffering. The universe has a way of clearing your path the moment you decide to take responsibility for your destiny. People fall away, conversations fade, bonds loosen. And instead of chasing what's leaving, you must learn to trust that what is meant for your future will arrive when you create space for it. You have to release who you were holding on to so you can receive who you are becoming. Growth will cost you people, but what you gain in return, clarity, peace, purpose, power, is always worth the loss. Happiness is an inside job. No matter how much we chase success, money, praise, or external validation, true contentment cannot be bought, earned, or borrowed. Many people live their entire lives believing that happiness is dependent on circumstances outside their control. They think that if only their work situation improves, their relationships are perfect, their body looks a certain way, or the world treats them fairly, then they will finally be happy. But this kind of thinking is like waiting for the wind to change direction instead of learning how to sail. External factors can influence our experience, but they cannot guarantee lasting peace or joy. The power of happiness lies within, in how we see the world, how we respond to life, and how we nurture our own heart. The first step in taking responsibility for our own happiness is realizing that no one else is obligated to make us feel good. People may love us, respect us, support us, or encourage us, but their actions are not designed to fulfill our emotional needs entirely. We start to understand that our emotions are not reactions to the world, but reflections of how we perceive and interpret it. Two people can face the same situation. One overwhelmed, anxious, frustrated, and the other calm, focused, and joyful. The difference lies entirely in the internal world. Self-awareness is key. We must observe our thoughts, our patterns, and the way we let circumstances dictate our feelings. When a negative thought arises, we can pause and decide whether it deserves our energy. When frustration or fear appears, we can choose perspective over panic. We can remind ourselves that the situation is temporary, that we are more resilient than we feel, and that peace is possible even amidst chaos. The inner dialogue we cultivate, gentle, patient, encouraging, creates the foundation for lasting happiness. Self-acceptance is another crucial aspect. Many people spend years wishing they were different, criticizing themselves for flaws, mistakes, or limitations, but this inner resistance only creates suffering. Happiness grows when we acknowledge ourselves as we are while committing to growth and improvement. Accepting our present reality allows us to act without guilt, shame, or unnecessary pressure. When we stop punishing ourselves for being human, we open the door to joy, calm, and satisfaction. Gratitude, silence, and reflection are powerful tools for nurturing internal happiness. A few minutes of recognizing what is good in our lives, of listening to our own heart without distraction, or of simply breathing and observing the present moment can reset our emotional state. Happiness is not a sudden explosion of excitement. It is a quiet, steady flame that grows when we consistently care for our inner world. We also must guard against comparison. External circumstances may appear better for others. Someone's career, lifestyle, relationships, or achievements are achievements. But focusing on their life rather than ours steals joy. Happiness emerges when we stop looking outward and start cultivating inward, when we measure growth against our own path, not someone else's. Each life is unique, and each journey requires its own mindset, its own patience, and its own attention. Ultimately, internal happiness is freedom. It frees us from the need to control everything outside, frees us from emotional dependency on others, and frees us from constant disappointment. When we invest in our inner state, when we strengthen our mind, nurture our heart, and cultivate awareness, we discover that life itself becomes lighter. Problems still appear, challenges still test us, but our emotional foundation remains strong. Happiness becomes less about circumstances and more about who we are becoming from the inside. Moment by moment, dark consistency is the hidden force behind lasting happiness. Many people believe happiness is the result of extraordinary events, sudden inspiration, or big achievements. But in truth, it is the outcome of small, consistent actions repeated over time. Just as a river carves a canyon not with a single wave but with countless drops of water, our inner peace and joy are shaped by the steady flow of daily habits, decisions, and thoughts. The moments we choose patience instead of anger, gratitude instead of complaint, and calmness instead of panic slowly accumulate into an invisible strength that sustains us even during life's storms. One of the reasons consistency is so powerful is that our mind and heart respond to repetition. Thoughts emotions and behaviors are like grooves on a path. The more we travel them, the deeper and easier they become to follow. If we practice worry, fear, or negativity repeatedly, those patterns solidify and happiness seems distant or unattainable. Conversely, if we consistently practice mindfulness, kindness, gratitude, and calm reflection, these positive grooves become second nature. Over time, happiness is no longer something we have to chase. It becomes the natural default of our mind. Consistency also teaches patience. Many people expect immediate results from every action, and when those results don't appear, they give up. Happiness, however, does not operate on instant gratification. It grows quietly, subtly, and steadily, often without drawing attention to itself. When we consistently choose to nurture our inner life, even when we cannot see the immediate effect, we are planting seeds that will bloom in time. This requires faith and perseverance, two qualities that deepen our resilience and emotional intelligence. Daily rituals play a significant role in building consistency. They do not need to be complicated or time-consuming. Even a few minutes of meditation, journaling, reading something inspiring, or expressing gratitude can create a profound impact if done consistently. Small practices repeated every day create a framework for our emotional life. They give the mind familiar, comforting cues that guide it toward positivity rather than chaos. Eventually, these rituals shape the rhythm of our entire life, providing a sense of stability and inner calm, even when external circumstances are unpredictable. Consistency is also vital because life is filled with unpredictable highs and lows. Some days will be challenging and emotions will swing. Without consistent habits and practices, it is easy to be pulled into despair, irritation, or frustration. But with consistent effort, we have an anchor. Even when external events threaten to disturb our peace, these daily practices remind us of who we are, what we value, and what we are building within ourselves. Over time, our emotional resilience becomes stronger than any temporary setback. Another aspect of consistency is self-discipline. Choosing daily actions that build happiness requires conscious effort, especially in a world full of distraction, stress, and negativity. It is tempting to procrastinate, complain, or in unhealthy habits. But each day we resist that temptation, we reinforce our mental and emotional strength. These repeated small victories build confidence, courage, and a sense of mastery over our own life. Consistency also amplifies gratitude. The more we repeatedly acknowledge what is good in our lives, the more the mind starts to naturally notice positivity rather than constantly scanning for problems. A steady practice of recognizing even the smallest blessings gradually rewires the brain to favor optimism, patience, and joy over complaint, fear, and dissatisfaction. Ultimately, consistent effort transforms happiness from a fleeting emotion into a steady state of being. It does not remove problems, difficulties, or challenges, but it strengthens the mind and heart to navigate life with clarity, patience, and joy. Every day becomes an opportunity to reinforce this foundation, and the cumulative effect of these repeated choices becomes a lifelong source of inner peace. Resilience and fulfillment, self-reflection is the compass that guides us toward lasting happiness. In the hustle of daily life, we often move forward without pausing to understand ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, and the subtle patterns that shape our behavior. Yet it is only when we look inward that we can truly recognize the choices, habits, and mindsets that either nourish our joy or drain it. Self-reflection allows us to step out of autopilot, observe our inner world without judgment, and intentionally shape the life we want to live. Without it, we are like a ship drifting with the current, never knowing whether we are headed toward calm waters or rough storms. When we take time to reflect, we begin to notice recurring patterns in our thoughts and behaviors. We observe where our mind tends to dwell on negativity, where fear or insecurity triggers unnecessary stress, and where impatience or pride disturbs our relationships. Awareness is the first step toward change. The simple act of noticing our habits, both good and bad, creates a mental space where we can make conscious decisions rather than reacting unconsciously to life's events. Over time, these moments of reflection sharpen our understanding of ourselves and equip us to make choices aligned with our highest values. Self-reflection also helps us process experiences, especially difficult ones. Instead of letting challenges, mistakes, or conflicts accumulate like unprocessed baggage, reflection allows us to examine what happened, what we learned, and how we can respond differently in the future. It transforms hardship into wisdom and pain into insight. Without reflection, experiences pass like fleeting shadows, leaving little impact on personal growth. With reflection, each moment, good or bad, becomes an opportunity for learning, growth, and self-mastery. Another profound aspect of self-reflection is emotional clarity. When emotions rise, anger, fear, sadness, jealousy, our immediate reaction is often impulsive, and we may act in ways we later regret. Pausing to reflect allows us to see our emotions for what they are, temporary waves in the vast ocean of our mind. By observing these emotions without judgment, we create a safe space where we can respond thoughtfully rather than react destructively. Over time, this practice strengthens our emotional intelligence and resilience, making us less dependent on external validation and more centered in our own inner stability. Reflection also deepens gratitude. When we pause to review our day or our life, we notice the small blessings that often go unnoticed. A kind word, a quiet moment of peace, a small victory, or a lesson learned. Gratitude, when combined with self-reflection, amplifies our sense of contentment and shifts our perspective from scarcity to abundance. It reminds us that happiness is not a distant goal, but a cumulative effect of noticing the good that is already present in our lives. Self-reflection is not always comfortable. It requires honesty and courage because sometimes we see areas of weakness, unresolved pain, or choices we regret. But confronting these truths gently, without harsh judgment, is what leads to growth. Avoiding reflection may feel easier, but it keeps us trapped in cycles of repeating the same mistakes or clinging to old fears. The more consistently we practice reflection, the more clarity, self-awareness, and empowerment we cultivate. Ultimately, self-reflection allows us to take ownership of our life. It shifts the source of happiness from external circumstances to internal understanding. By regularly examining our thoughts, emotions, and actions, we become conscious architects of our own mental and emotional landscape. Each moment of reflection strengthens our ability to choose joy, peace, and purpose, making happiness not a fleeting feeling, but a natural, enduring part of who we are.